Most people don't realize their inverter cable is a fire risk until it's too late. In this video, I'll show you exactly why undersized inverter cable is dangerous, how to identify if your cable is wrong, and what to use instead to keep your system safe. Let's start with the numbers. A 2000-watt inverter draws 170 amps continuously on a 12-volt system. That is not an estimate, that is physics. Watts divided by volts equals amps. 2000 divided by 12 equals 166 amps. Add losses and inefficiency and you're looking at 170 amps under load. Now look at your cable. 16 mm squared cable is rated for 110 amps maximum. At 170 amps, it will overheat. Not might overheat, will overheat. Every time. Here's what happens when a cable overheats. The PVC insulation starts to soften at around 70 degrees Celsius. At 90 degrees it begins to melt. The copper conductor underneath starts to oxidize. Oxidized copper has higher resistance than clean copper. Higher resistance means more heat generated for the same current. More heat means more oxidization. More oxidization means more resistance. It becomes a runaway process that ends one of two ways. The cable fails completely and your inverter cuts out, or the insulation ignites. In a camper van surrounded by wood, foam insulation, carpet and fabric, that cable becomes the ignition point for your entire van. Now let's talk about why so many people get this wrong. Most inverters come with 16 mm squared terminals on the unit itself. People see 16 mm terminals and assume 16 mm cable is correct. It is not. The terminal size on the inverter is the minimum connection size for the terminal itself. It is not a cable size recommendation. The manufacturer assumes you will run short, correctly sized cable from a nearby battery. They do not account for people running 3-meter lengths of 16 mm cable from a battery in a different part of the vehicle. The second reason people get it wrong is they size cable for amps only and ignore cable length. Resistance increases with length. A 1-meter run of 70 mm squared cable has very low resistance. A 3-meter run of the same cable has 3 times the resistance. More resistance means more voltage drop and more heat. For a 2000-watt inverter, keep your cable run as short as physically possible. Under 1.5 meters is ideal. If you need a longer run up to 3 meters, go up to 95 mm squared. Never compromise on cable size to save money on a longer run. Third, fusing. A correctly sized cable without a fuse is still a fire risk. If there is a fault, a short circuit, a failed connection, a damaged cable, the current can spike to 400 amps or more. Without a fuse, that current flows through your cable until something melts. With a correctly rated fuse, it blows in milliseconds and protects the cable. For a 2000-watt inverter, you need a 250 amp ANL fuse mounted within 300 millimeters of the battery positive terminal. Not a blade fuse, not a 100 amp fuse. A 250 amp ANL fuse. This is non-negotiable. Let me give you the correct cable specification for common inverter sizes. A 1000-watt inverter draws around 85 amps. Use 25 mm squared cable for runs up to 1.5 meters, 35 mm squared for runs up to 3 meters. A 1500-watt inverter draws around 125 amps. Use 50 mm squared cable for runs up to 1.5 meters, 70 mm squared for runs up to 3 meters. A 2000-watt inverter draws around 170 amps. Use 70 mm squared for runs up to 1.5 meters, 95 mm squared for runs up to 3 meters. A 3000-watt inverter draws around 250 amps. Use 95 mm squared minimum, 120 mm squared for longer runs. All of these cable sizes are available at mkgt.co.uk. Cut to any length you need. We stock high-flex battery cable from 10 mm squared up to 120 mm squared. High-flex cable has hundreds of fine copper strands, which gives it lower resistance per meter and far greater flexibility than standard cable, essential for inverter installations where the cable needs to route around tight corners. To recap, size your inverter cable for current and length, not just current. Use high-flex battery cable. 70 mm squared minimum for a 2000-watt inverter on a 1.5 meter run. Fit a 250 amp ANL fuse within 300 mm of the battery positive. The right cable costs around £30 for a 1 meter length. A van fire costs everything. Use our free cable size calculator at mkgt.co.uk to find the exact cable size for your inverter. Link is in the description. If this helped, give it a like and subscribe for more no-nonsense wiring guides every week. This video is for educational purposes only. Always consult a qualified electrician for your specific installation.